Hello and welcome. This is this thing on? We're here with parts manager extraordinaire Kyle Dummer.
I wouldn't say extraordinaire, but...
What? Why not?
Just another person doing a job, just doing the best that we can.
Best that you can. Where are you working at?
I am at the Vern Eide Marine location now. I've been there since December of 21.
Okay.
Got moved over from the Honda store as a service advisor. Was looking for something a little bit different, something to kind of change up the feel. And this has definitely been the thing. You know, boats are different, and this is great. You know, it's a good change.
I bet that is different. So what is your day-to-day? What does your day-to-day work look like?
So day-to-day is obviously for a parts manager going through, making sure you have your inventory set, checking price updates. On boat warranty, we do unfortunately have a little bit more of a broad spectrum of things that we have to deal with, just because there's so many different makes, models of boats, things like that. So you're always trying to learn these things as to how to be better amped to help people. So when these things do come up, just because there's always new products, new graphs, new things like that are coming out. So it's just trying to make sure that we have that general knowledge basis.
Yeah. And then as far as when they need parts, is that mainly, is it a lot of customers or is it more our service shop, or who do you usually serve a lot of?
So when it comes to more mechanical things, that'll be obviously our service shop. I don't feel customers are as amped to want to touch the motor basis just because they view it as such a difference. But when it comes to the electronics, things like that, that is definitely where the customers, the new thing comes out, the phones are ringing hot. Yeah. People are wanting to know, how does this work? Will this work with this product? Do you think this is going to work with my boat? What do you think is the best? You know, there's so many different things. We're coming into that new year, you know, we're only a couple months in, so people are hot on trying to make sure that they have things ready for the new year as they come into the season. It's knocking on the door. Yeah. People breaking ice already with boats, which is very crazy.
Holy cow, that is nuts. It's like, it shouldn't be that way this early. So
you wouldn't suspect. We should have plenty of ice still, but it's not so nice for the ice fishermen, but for the people that are wanting to be out on their boats, you know, they have the big money invested, so they're ready to be out.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Give them a nice long year of that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Tell me a little bit about your family.
Well, obviously the most important person is going to be my wife, Courtney. She is the one that obviously holds my life together. You know, I put a lot of weight on her shoulders. You know, she does a great job at it, but she's also very good and well-rounded at these kind of things. She is the front desk lady at one of the schools here in Sioux Falls. So she has a lot of responsibilities underneath her, a lot of kids to be able to know their names, their parents, the schedules that are going on with them, all the medications that she does get to help with for when their school is a little bit short-staffed on a nurse. So she has to keep up with that. So she's very good at doing that kind of stuff, which I'm beyond thankful for, because I don't know what it is, but you get those moments where it's like, I'm so overwhelmed or overstimulated that's like, I can't do anything. What's going on? You know, and you're like, and she's good at being like, hey, you need to get this done. And it's like, oh, it's probably a good thing you told me that, because I've already just sat here and been like, what am I doing with myself?
Yeah, that's crazy.
But other than my wife being the most important, we have entered in 2 kids into our family. We have started fostering. Okay. That was definitely a big step that the wife and I were thinking, this is probably the best for us. To be able to make a big impact, 1, in the community, but then 2, in regards of, we obviously have some personal issues with that whole subject, so we thought this would be the best way to be able to, 1, prep us if we ever do get that experience, and 2, we can make a big difference in someone's life that they might not experience it or notice it right now, but we know that we're making a big difference for them. So it is very nice.
So how many kids have you fostered?
This is our first placement. Okay. So it has definitely been a roller coaster of emotions, you know, things like that, that it's just like having things ready for them and, you know, trying to make sure that you're obviously giving them a better life, which we'll all agree that, you know, unfortunately, if they're in the situation, anything can be better than what they're coming from. But we're obviously just striving to do what we can to make sure that we know in ourselves as well that we have done what we can and what we need to do to make sure that they're happy and content and taken care of.
How old are they?
So they are 3 and 5. Okay. They were 2 and 4 when we got them. So we got to experience our first birthdays, which was, that was hard. You know, like it was that overwhelming emotions, you know, like you had the anger because like family, you know, trying to get everybody together and people being like, I don't know if that'll work. It's like, just, it doesn't have to be long. Yeah. It doesn't have to be long by any means, but it's just those experiences that it's like, this is pretty cool. You know, the things that you do get to do with your, with normal kids, and we get to do with these kids and make sure that they're having a great birthday.
Yeah.
So.
Are they themed at all?
Yep, Avery is all about the Frozen.
Okay.
So we're always singing, Let It Go and all the other songs that the girls like to sing. And then Kaysen is a big Spider-Man guy, so he is Miles Morales galore.
Sure.
We have to have a Miles Morales bed sheets. We have the pillowcase. We have all the action figures.
That's
we have a web blaster that he had to get for Christmas. That was the first toy that we opened. So it's very important.
Did they even need to open? He probably didn't need to open the other
He opened the rest, of course, because we told him he had to open everything before he could open a toy. So he was definitely a little mad about it, but we lived. We made it through.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. As far as like, me and my wife have not fostered at all. Like, why is it such an impactful thing, do you think?
Just because you're making a big difference in somebody's life for the parents and for the kids. Like, we have had this ability to make a relationship with the biological mother. Obviously, other male figures in their life aren't as present, but they are around.
Yeah.
We have definitely been able to make an impact on her in the ways that we can and show, like, hey, we're not here to do bad, steal your kids or anything like that. We want to see you take your kids back. We want to see you be happy. We want you to be healthy. We want you to be an overall well-rounded human being in order to be able to care properly for your kids. We don't want your kids to have to go through hard times, to have to see those things, because unfortunately that is hard, when families do struggle, and kids unfortunately have to be the center of it. They, they engulf all the energy that happens within the household, and then it gets transmitted not necessarily to the parents, but to friends, to teachers, to whoever's in their life around. That energy does get transmitted. So we have definitely seen a great change between the two kids, just being able to see them grow the way that they have, and just knowing the things that they unfortunately lacked. There's just some basic fundamentals for the said age group that they should, or that they're in, that they should have, that they don't, and now they are getting better. It takes time. You can't force learning 100% on a kid. You have to obviously have that time of fun and relaxation.
Yes,
so
for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about like where you grew up, where you came from.
Well, I was born in Sioux Falls, lived in Sioux Falls for, I want to say until I was 5 or 6, and then we moved out to Harrisburg. Okay. So pretty much my whole school career was Harrisburg. So definitely small, and got to watch it grow into the large town that it is. Yeah, basically a suburb now of Sioux Falls, which is crazy, because I remember like being in, being so young, and it's like, we have to drive into town, and it's like, this is a big deal. Like, we're going to town. Great, and it's just like, now it's, they're right next door. There's no difference between them and us now. It's more of just a, well, it's another town. Has a different post office. Door, though.
Yeah, for sure. How did you get here? How did you get at Vern Eide? Like, when did you first start here, and how did you kind of get here? So
I started here a couple months after high school. I didn't really know what to do with my life at the moment. I knew I wanted to take a year off from school, and I just thought that I have two options. I liked finances, and I liked cars. I knew those are the two things that I really liked in life, so I thought this is going to be the way I'm going to determine what I like to do with my life. So I put an application in for both and said I'll put it in God's hands, that whatever happens, God has the best plan for me, and I will move forward with said plan and try to execute it as best as possible. A couple years went past, and I said, I don't know if this is necessarily exactly what I want to do, so I decided to take up some classes for finances through STI, did that for a semester, loved it, but it was just that thing of, I didn't feel that once I would leave Vern Eide and go to another company, that I would feel as at home like I do here. Yeah,
that's cool. That's crazy. So then, I'm assuming that Vern Eide then reached out to you when you put it in those two, you put in your applications. They reach out first, or are they the only one to reach out?
They're the only ones to reach out. I put it in at a couple banks actually in the area, and they're the only ones to reach out within a timely manner. So I obviously had the interview with Vern Eide, came in, did the interview, they offered the job on the spot, and I took it. It was until a couple weeks later that the other places actually got back, and it was like, and that, shows difference when people are actually like, we're willing to hire somebody, when it's just like, oh, we'll wait for, all the resumes in the world to come in and then pick from it.
What was the first role you had then? What was that job?
So the first role here was being a service runner at the Vern Eide Honda location. I did that for several months, and then kind of life progressed from there.
Yeah.
We got different promotions, things like that.
And you went to, I know you're a service advisor for a stretch, right?
Correct, yeah. I want to say it was 3, almost 4 years I was a service advisor. A lot of people to thank for that one. That allowed me to progress into that role. There was obviously some things of like, is he going to be able to do it and whatnot, and I even had a lot of skepticism, and did even during the time frame of doing it, you know, as you see surveys, customers, things like that, you know, you have bad experiences, like, am I cut out for this?
Yeah.
But as the time went, I grew, I learned how to work with it, and it was, you know, one of the best things in my life, or I should say is, you know, one of those best experiences just due to the factor of it has taught me so much as to how to deal with customers and how to be able to be face-to-face with someone and not always delivering good news, but also delivering great news too at the same time.
Sure.
So you get to deliver those dreams you know, of being able to get to and from.
When did you transition to Marine again?
December of 21.
Okay.
Yep.
How was that for you? Like, did you know you wanted to go to the boat side, or was it like their opportunity there? Did they ask you to come over, or like how'd that work out?
So there was an opportunity. It wasn't necessarily something that they just came up out of the blue. I was kind of hinting at like, hey, I'm looking at something different. I don't know what I want to do necessarily.
Sure.
Not that I didn't, like I said, like the service advisor role. It was a lot of fun, and it was a great crew to work with that we had there at that time.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those things, I was looking for something a little bit different. You know, I wanted something that was going to stretch me a little bit more and be like, okay, let's get along comfortable, let's try to something different, you know, kind of get you into a role that might allow you to expand a little bit. And learning has been the biggest thing at the Marine side.
It's probably a learning curve for everybody because we've never had boats before, you know, until we did.
Exactly. You got, you know, you have a season, you know, and then you have a season for on and off, and they're two completely different spectrums because you'll have the customers that are itching to get it on the boat today, you know, and get it out to the water, and then you'll have the next one where it's like, it's fine, take 3-4 months, you know, because they understand that I'm not using the boat, I have family coming in, things like that, you know, so it just ends up being a lot of things that, it's a different dynamic when you go from one to the other.
Yeah, I bet I can see that being the case. What would you say is like your favorite part of your job?
I'd have to say, as a whole, is just knowing that we are delivering the dreams that people can have, or the memories to be able to store for a long time. You know, you can ask people about some of the best memories that they had if their family had a boat, and a lot of those memories that they do have will be some sort of like, we were on the boat and we had a great time with the whole family. We were out on the water, got the severe sunburn, you know, playing around, just having a great time. You know, it's one of those things where it's crazy how that one item, yes, they're expensive and they do take a lot to be able to get to the water, but it is a lot of investment to have a great time.
Yeah.
You know, you put somebody on the water in a boat, you know, and just cruise around, and they're like, okay, this isn't half bad. You know, it's that relaxing moment of being like, this is a different kind of free. Yeah,
that's true. That's really cool. Like, there is a lot of memories that are made on that. It's something that I don't think is thought about all that much. Like, because it's the same with like in your car. It's like when you're in your car, you can make memories in there too, but it's like, it's just kind of like the location. So you don't really think of that as like, oh, if we do this, we're going to create a lot of family memories that are going to live on forever. Because you're just thinking of it as a transportation almost. Like,
correct.
It's kind of crazy that changes. What would you say is your why? Like, what drives you? What kind of gets you motivated?
I think just being a better person, you know, just always striving to be a little bit better in a certain area. I started working out a couple years ago when Vern Eide opened up their gym right next to the Marine location. I thought, you know, we're 150 pounds, been this way for the whole life. Let's try to change something up. Try to gain a little bit of mass. Doesn't matter if it's fat, muscle, whatever it be. Let's try to just start filling out some clothes. Yeah. Always the kid that, you know, you put a small shirt on, it's like, this is baggy, you know? So having that now change, you know, in the gym feature has allowed me to now have a perspective of, you can only change small things. And it can sometimes take a while to actually see those results. Yeah. You know, so when you make a small incremental change and you're actually getting results and noticing it and tracking it, that is the main thing. Is if you aren't tracking what you're trying to go for, are you going to ever really see it? Right. You know, so there's things where I've changed to making sure I'm reading a little bit more often, which I have tailed off a little bit. Sure. once the kids came into the house, but it is still there. I'm still trying to make sure I'm reading articles or doing things of the sort that are keeping me a little bit more vibrant in the mind. Just because I did go through such a spurt where I wasn't reading, you know, I wasn't doing things like that, you know, and Jim really helped with persuading of like, hey, these are, you know, X, Y, and Z books that you should probably try. Give them a try. And he's done great at that, you know, so, and I've now ventured off to be able to kind of understand what I like reading, what I don't, so it's definitely nice to know that.
What are you kind of into? Like, are you like a self-help type reader, or like mystery novels, or I don't know, like what are you like reading about?
Yep, just a lot of self-help and religious things like that. Just trying to kind of better myself. Unfortunately, you're going to read all these books, and they're obviously going to give you a lot of different dynamics, but at least gives you things of being like, well, I can try this in my life.
Take something from each one.
Correct. Looping back to the make small incremental changes, and you'll eventually see it over such time
big
frame.
results.
Correct.
That's awesome. But it's something maybe that people may not know about you. Are you an open book?
I wouldn't say an open book, but not much, you know. And you ever have a question about me, I'll answer it. I'll answer it. You know, if it's more private, maybe in public, or not in public, I won't answer it. But I guess probably the main thing is that a lot of people don't know that, you know, unfortunately, like a lot of people in this world, where I don't really know my real father so much, so there is an adoption side of my life. You know, we won't go so much into that. But that is just something that, you know, not something I typically talk about and try to get too in depth with. But that is unfortunately just something a lot of people, you know, have that problem in their life, where there is a father figure that unfortunately is not around, and it's just that interior emotions that sometimes it's like, this definitely does hit a little bit different, you know? So it's like, not saying that my adoptive real father, as I consider him, to be a good fit, but there is definitely those different emotions that you have to work with.
I understand that completely. What's some stuff, maybe something you like to do in your free time? Is there anything you do outside of work that's like you like doing that people maybe they don't know, or you into stuff that we don't know about?
I'd honestly say just making sure I'm hitting the gym in my frequent rotation. You know, I have a certain split that I keep up with that I'm just like, this is what it has to be, because that has been, I think, the number one thing that has allowed me, again, to have these goals set and understand that you're not going to always meet said goal in a timely fashion as to what you expect. You know, sometimes your body doesn't take to something as well, or you get a slight pain somewhere and you're like, great, now I need to settle down. I need to, you know, take it easy and just understand that with time, the process will pay out. You know, things will get better and you'll eventually be able to hit said goal. Just understand that it might be manipulated a little bit, might not be exactly what you're wanting, but it's close.
It's this long-term, it's that long-term commitment to it.
Correct.
That'll pay the dividends there.
Is
there anything else you do, like do you play guitar?
So I've actually thought about getting back into it. One of those things where with the kids now, you know, it's like I need to have a hobby that I can get back to and just kind of enjoy, you know, and potentially get the kids involved with too as well, because Kaysen does like music a lot. So we definitely, you know, allow him to listen to different genres of music so then he can kind of explore a bit, because he does understand it. You know, you get a lot of these new Spider-Man movies that are playing music that has rappers that we grew up with, and it's like they're not now as much profanity in them, you know, so it's like we're getting the clean versions or things like that, you know, where it's like you can tell he's been around it before. So it's just trying to make sure that we're obviously keeping things that he enjoys in his life.
That's cool. I'm going to go to my last question.
Sure.
Are you a book? Well, I mean, we know you like books. Are you a book guy, a movie guy, or a music guy, if you had to pick one of those three?
I'd say, as a whole, more of a music kind of guy.
Music guy. Okay, great.
Putting the AirPods in and just scrolling through Spotify and finding that band that's in that season, you know, where it's like, this is the band that...
This is it.
Is definitely just...
For now.
Yes, definitely hitting those feelings or just that mood as to how things are. Like right now, I'm into a band that's a little bit more instrumental. You know, they don't have any vocals or anything like that. So just having those ones to where you can really resonate with the sounds that are going on, that it's like, okay, this is great. You know, so it's not having to listen to specific words and really pay attention. You can dive deep into the physical music to understand wow, someone really has a thought process behind this besides just your standard chords.
Yeah, exactly. Who is that band?
Their name is Polyphia.
Okay.
They're not a very well-known band.
Sure.
They started out super heavy, almost more in the metal scene, but they've kind of come backwards from a lot of those bands have done.
Yeah.
And they have done a lot more integration of like jazz, R&B.
Sure.
So a couple of the gentlemen that are in that band have definitely been around the scene long enough to know people in other genres.
Yeah.
And they've been able to incorporate it into different music. So they really don't have a category.
That's cool.
So it's just nice to be like, you're listening to something that's different than the rest.
Right. I would think that sounds different. So if you had to pick your top 3 songs of all time.
Of all time.
That's like a long time. I know
That's
there's a lot of music.
Yeah.
And that's going to be hard to narrow down. I get that. If you had to let number 3, do you have a number 3, the third of the, not your top, but like it's close.
I think just for generic wise on this one, just because it makes everybody in the room kind of be like, okay, this is a song. It's like Eye of the Tiger.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? That song comes on and everyone's like, oh, I know this. I know this. Like, this is great. And it just gives that upbeat feeling of being like, okay, like you might not be having a great time or doing something really energetic or anything like that, but the minute that Eye of the Tiger comes on, people are just like, okay, this is great.
Is that on your gym playlist at all? Or
it is in the Spotify like list.
It.
I wouldn't say it's in the gym playlist, you know. Maybe if we're trying to go for a PR or something, it might be someday, but we'll probably get it in there at some point.
At some point. What about number 2?
Oof, number 2. There's so many different bands out there that it's just like, who do I want to pick?
I know.
You know, I'll just keep with the band that I'm keeping up with right now, which is Polyphia. Their song, Rivery.
Okay.
It is, again, they're all instrumental, but just like the upbeat, you know, where it's just like, it is a very jazzy kind of feel to it, you know. So it's not so much jazz, but it's like a jazz with a little bit of rock and metal.
Sure. Do they infuse, like, is there like trumpets and stuff like that or not?
Yeah, so they do infuse a lot of different, a couple of their other songs, they do really emphasize in more of like the orchestra.
Sure.
So they definitely do a really good job at doing all this. And the better part is just that you can listen to it again. Like, you don't have to try to feed out the lyrics to listen to the instrumental. You can physically just hear it right then and there.
Is that easier for when, like, if you're at work or something, if it's just instrumental, does it make it?
Yeah, makes it.
So you're not, like, the capacity of your brain isn't listening to lyrics as well while you're trying to type something or anything?
Correct, yeah. You're not, you get those moments, you know, where you're like listening to something or someone's talking to you and you're typing, you're like, da-da-da, and then you read it back and you're like, wow, I just typed what they just said, or I just said, like, that wasn't even what I was trying to go for. So it is definitely nice to just have that instrumental just kind of playing in the background. And it doesn't have to be loud, just something to keep the noise there, you know, that white noise that everybody likes to have every once in a while. And
your number 1 all-time favorite song?
Again, I think that really does change with seasons as time goes. So right now, same band, Polyphia, just the song Playing God is what it's called. It is just a very well-rounded, very prominent in the music field, especially for people that are playing guitar, things like that, because it's just the way he integrates everything together. It's like, it doesn't sound to some people like great music, but it's like if you actually dive deep into the music and being like, how did his hands move like that? Like, everyone thought Eruption. You know, when Eddie Van Halen came out and just started playing Eruption, everyone lost their mind. You know, they're like, this guy's crazy. But now the times have changed, things like that have become easy. So just looking for other bands that it's like, how are you making music like this? How are you integrating so many different genres together to be so cohesive and work with each other?
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to check them out because I've never heard of them, but that sounds really interesting.
Yes, if you stay more to their new, you'll definitely enjoy a lot more than probably the older, because that's when they're in their metal phase, rock phase. But the new stuff is definitely...
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for taking the time.
Of course.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Anytime. So this was another episode of Is This Thing On? Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you around.